the Irish NFL show live from Radio Row, and we have here two guests with us who I'm sure are familiar from your screens back home. We're joined by Tiff Blackmon and Ron Rivera. Thank you both for dropping in to see us on the Irish NFL show on the day that your new vodcast, No Headsets, drops. Tiff, tell us what it's all about.
Yeah, it's so cool that Ron had hit me up a couple months ago, like, do you want to do a podcast? And I'm like, okay, sure. But really the basis of it is like our relationship. I covered the Panthers for about 5 seasons, including that Super Bowl run in 2015, 2016. And so it's a good podcast that's going to give you some great perspective on, here's Ron as a coach. And no one has that experience and what that has been like being a coach in the NFL and a player as well. And then for myself, my father happened to play in the Super Bowl that Ron was in. He was a fellow linebacker on the Patriots. And so there's that perspective I have from growing up in it. And then also now being an NFL sideline reporter for CBS.
And it's kind of a unique perspective because, again, from her side of it, it's like it's really about what she's seen being outside looking in. And for me, again, the reason it's no headsets because I'm taking the headsets off and I'm talking and trying to be as blunt as I can about the experiences that I went through. And as an example, a lot of time people always want to tell me what I needed to do or what I should have done. And I like to tell people that have never done what I've done, don't draw me a map unless you've been there.
Well, we've had a couple of really interesting conversations over the past couple of days. And one of the topics that's come up, because it's been such a busy coaching carousel in the offseason this year in the NFL, so many vacancies coming up and so many different choices being made. It's interesting the profile of the new generation of coaches coming up. And it does seem like a lot of GMs and owners are looking for someone who could connect emotionally with players, who's not going to be a martinet, who's not going to go in there and be a hard ass unless they can also relate to the lived experiences of a new generation of players.
I think to a degree that's part of it, but you also got to take a step back and look at what Mike Vrabel's done. Mike Vrabel's a hard ass, but Mike Vrabel also understands the experience. So to me, if you're looking for a specific type, there really is no specific. It's what your team is like, and it's what is this guy going to bring to the table. Whether he's a veteran guy like a Mike McCarthy, like a John Harbaugh. I mean, these are guys that have done it, have been very successful, and they have their own unique style. And then you sit there and go, well, everybody's looking for the next Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay. Well, you're going to keep looking because these guys are unicorns. And the reason I say that is, think about it. Kyle grew up in it. His dad was a head coach, so he was inundated from day one. All right. Sean McVay, he did it. Why? Because his grandfather was with the 49ers for all those years. So he was inundated from a very early age as well. So you got to look very hard as to what makes each one of these individuals. If you're not going deep into it, I think you're going to miss something that might help you make a better decision or the right decision.
So if I'm really looking forward to checking out this No Headsets because I love how your perspectives overlap and differ in certain important respects. As a sideline reporter, you get up close and personal with coaching staffs of all different colors and hues. You've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Oh yeah, I've seen a lot of it. And the one thing too, even just being more of like the breaking news kind of hat when I was at NFL Network, it's texting sources, trying to find out information. And you still kind of wear that hat as a sideline reporter as well, but you build these relationships. And I think that enables you to be able to get good information because it's built on trust. But yeah, you do see a lot of the good and the bad. But when you go through the good, it also helps you be able to go through the bad when you're asking tough questions because you've built that foundation.
We talked very briefly just before we started streaming here live. You were at the FSU Georgia Tech game at the Aviva Stadium in Dublin a couple of years ago, where I had my one and only experience as a sideline reporter. And it's not that I didn't have respect for what you guys do, but it's a very difficult job.
It can be very difficult, but it's like you're moving on the fly, right? So you're actually just reacting. You're the eyes and ears of the sideline as you got to experience. So you got the vantage point that nobody else has, and you're seeing things that probably nobody else can see, whether you spot someone getting taped up and you're relaying that to maybe your producer. So it's a really unique perspective to have. And it's also really fun. I love the rush of it.
Well, we have a really interesting matchup coaching-wise on Sunday with Mike Vrabel and Mike McDonald. I love the fact that we got two defense-minded head coaches. It's very interesting given all of the fashion that's been to try and find an offensive genius to be the head coach, that it's two very traditional defensive guys who are taking their teams to the brink of the promised land here.
Well, I do like that matchup, like you said. I do like the defensive minds. It's an interesting matchup because you got a second-year head coach, and you got to been a head coach at 2 different places now. But he's also had the experiences as a player and as a coach, positional coach, of having gone to a Super Bowl. So he understands the dynamics, which I think gives him a little bit of an edge over Coach McDonald. So that's going to be a real interesting matchup, though, because as you get into the game, if it's a tight game, it'll come down to coaching decisions as well.
Tiffany, one of the things that we're really intrigued to see on Sunday is whether or not this Patriots dynasty can re-up. You've been there from the ground floor. You were steeped in the OG Patriots under the original Robert Kraft ownership era. What a journey that has been.
It's been incredible to watch the complete 180. You know, this is a team that lost 13 games, I think, like last season, and now here they are at the Super Bowl with the coaching change. And so we talked a lot about just finding the right spot or finding the right people to lead the team. And you can look at Vrabel. I got to cover him back in his time with the Titans and leading that team with Ryan Tannehill to an AFC championship.
Great decision to let him walk out the door, by the way.
You know,
how's that working out for you?
Rough times after that. But, you know, it's been, I think when you bring it back to maybe just that lead person, the head coach, obviously, you know that position well, it starts with you. And so for the Patriots, I believe it starts with Vrabel and who he is. You see him shaking the hands of his players and patting them on the back after every game, even the way that he treats the people in the building as well. And I think it's had a profound effect on the team. And they've talked about him instilling this belief in them that they could get to the Super Bowl.
Well, when we were lucky enough to get a little bit of time with you, and thank you again for talking to us on the Irish NFL show just a few weeks back. It was pre-playoffs. We were wondering at that stage whether the Panthers would make it. They did. It's been an interesting journey for them, and indeed for another one of your former teams, the Bears.
Yes. What's going to be real interesting, though, is if you look at both those teams, they're going to play a different schedule. You know, I think the Bears last year played the last place schedule, as did Carolina. Now you're going to play the first place divisional schedule. It's going to be a little bit different as far as those matchups concerned. Now the big question, will they both grown and taken the next big step? That's where you're going to really find out, you know, how well they've been prepared, how well they've been coached, and how well that each one of them has grown as players.
We talk about schedules. If the Patriots had a historically easy, quote-unquote, schedule to get to the game this year, it's a massive opportunity for them, and one where, you know, we don't take for granted that the window is always going to stay open. We talked about the Bengals a couple of years ago and how many Super Bowls we might see Joe Burrow get back to, but we're still waiting on that one. So they'll be well aware of what a big chance this is.
Oh, I'm sure Vrabel's made them well aware of it, having been to the Super Bowl multiple times himself and not always on the winning end, even though they won a lot, but probably instilling that message to his players too. And so I just think it's really an important thing to keep in mind, because you don't know when you're going to get back. And like we talked about the Super Bowl with my dad, you know, you still remember the losing. You know, you still carry that with you. And you talked about that too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, losing 10 years ago, you know, it's one of my biggest disappointments, and I still felt like I let a lot of people down. But to that point about Mike Vrabel, the thing to understand too is when he talks about this game, he talks about the significance and importance of it. Those players are going to go, okay, I get it. Why? Because he's been there. Yeah. That's one of the things that I think he plays in their favor right now as well.
Coach, we see a second-year quarterback, as you mentioned, at the helm for the Patriots, and very much the redemption of Sam Darnold on the other end. What are college quarterbacks now looking at when they come into the NFL? I mean, that draft class we saw with Drake, with Caleb, with Bo Nix, you know, real growth, and with Jaden, real growth in their second years. And we've seen Bryce Young come on through his challenges at Carolina, as we spoke about as well. It's a very different world in college for those quarterbacks with the nil money and with everything else before they arrive in the NFL. It's got some interesting quirks and consequences.
Well, I think the big thing is, you know, when you're now looking at these young guys that are coming in from college, is really not just about them as football players anymore, but how they manage their own personal life. That's a big question, I think, that NFL teams need to start looking at. You know, they've gotten a bunch of money. What did they do with it? Hey, how much of that money did they save? Did they invest it? Who did they spend it on? What did they spend it on? I mean, these are questions that teams are going to start diving into, because I think it's going to talk about the maturity of some of these young guys. How are they handling their lives? And if the school's doing a good job, they're doing everything they can to support that player and get that player to understand and learn about, you know, what it takes to be successful. Everything from you know, financial literacy to investment. That's a lot to learn. And if they've shown that they can handle it, you know, like I mean, you look at what happened with Jaden. I think Jaden for Washington showed, here's a guy that had NIL, handled NIL, and he really handled it well. And he handled his rookie well with so much poise, so much grace. Unfortunately, he got hurt this year, so it'll be interesting to see how he comes back.
If you're at the front end dealing with a lot of these personalities, have you seen any impact or any change since the college system was turned on its head like that?
Oh my goodness. Well, for one, I think it is great to see the players have more power, right? Because you are the ones that are running and putting your bodies on the line on the field. I think that a lot of the guys, I'm going to date myself, but some of the guys that I covered in college are now in the NFL, which is great to see. But I would think it's kind of like the podcast thing we have been talking about earlier. We're talking about a lot of players have their own platforms now. So I think there's been a little bit of a change in that where, you can control your own messaging now and kind of take more power, and this should have more power when it comes to NIL stuff.
I got to say, as you mentioned that, it's a brave time to launch a
really
podcast.
is.
Like you're going to have to sharpen your elbows there, both of you. I mean, we're really enjoying listening to you, so I can't wait to check it out myself. But it is a busy marketplace.
It is. And that's really what these players at the Tiff's point understand. It's about marketing now. What is your brand? What have you created? Are you the right kind of person for, reaching out to different companies about advertising and being involved with them as well? So you are getting a different type of player. And it's about time they've gotten the opportunity to share in the wealth that's been made through college athletics and through the NFL.
What do you see now in your current role with Cal in terms of how to manage the organizational structure, how to manage the coaches under you, how to manage the recruitment? It's a topsy-turvy world compared to where it was 10 years ago.
It is, but if you have a specific plan already in the place, that's a big part of it. We brought in Tosh Lupoy, who was at one point in Alabama with Nick Saban, and just having got to know Nick a little bit, I think a lot of things that he's implementing are things that Nick Saban probably did. And, because, Tosh, he studies, he prepares, and everything we've done is about making sure we're giving our guys proper direction. We're setting the tone, we're setting the tempo. Coach has a culture he's trying to establish, and you see the players begin to understand just how important that is.
Tiff, this is our 5th year now at Radio Row for the Irish NFL show, and I'm amazed at how much it's evolved even in that relatively short time span. I mean, the way the league is covered, the international perspective that we see German reporters here, French, Italian, Australians out in force, of course, because the Melbourne game is coming up. The growth of the game and the juggernaut, which is the NFL, continues to kind of take my breath away. What's it like working in the middle of that machine?
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I think that growing the game globally is just huge because you've got the international program with the league as well, and seeing guys being able to come out of that. But I go back to the game in Dublin that we had talked about that I went for FSU and Georgia Tech 2 years ago now. The atmosphere, like everybody, it seems like loves football. And I could not say enough about the fans that you all had at that game because the noise level, everything was incredible. There's just such an appetite for it on the global perspective.
And it was very interesting, actually, now that you mention it. I mean, the college experience was one thing, and we got to taste that in Dublin before we got the NFL experience with the Steelers and the Vikings in the year just gone. 30,000 Steelers fans coming over. Felt like an authentic regular season game. I mean, even in contrast to Madrid or to Frankfurt or Munich or London or any of the international games I've been to, which are much more of a festival of football, that was a very, very cool experience. And it's one I know we're hungry to repeat. There won't be an NFL game in Dublin in 2026, but maybe 2027 and beyond, we'll see it back again. We'd love to see you guys come over for that.
That'll be awesome. I'm going to push for that. I'm going to lobby it because I love my time over there.
Well, we know you and Stephanie enjoy your time in Ireland too.
Yes, we've been there a couple of times, and man, it's been terrific. The people are wonderful. I'll tell right from the start, they really truly enjoy being part of the atmosphere, and that's really what it's all about. Is are we creating the right kind of atmosphere?
And we know you love your golf. I don't know, are you a golfer, Tiff?
I like to think I would be good at it. I know it's a mental game, but being an athlete, I feel like I could play it.
Put in the mental reps.
The mental reps, I think I can handle. I might throw a club or two.
Our travel partner for this Radio Row experience is Dunes and Drams, and they bring people over to experience both the golf courses and the Irish whiskey experience. So we got to get you guys involved in that. We got to get you to hook up if and when you do come, and we'd very much love to have you back on our shores.
That.
Yeah, great stuff.
Appreciate it, Conor. Thank you, guys.
And Ron, thank you so much for joining us on the Irish NFL show. We'll take a quick break. We're back from Radio Row with the Irish NFL show. Our coverage from Radio Row brought to us all week in association with Dunes and Drams. We just talked about Dunes and Drams with Ron Rivera and Tiffany Blackmon just a couple of moments ago. Shane, you were at the Patriots media availability earlier on today. We saw you at Coach Vrabel and indeed at Drake May's pressers earlier on. what did you glean from the experience this morning? What's the mood coming out of Camp Patriots?
The mood is, it's almost like I've been saying all week, the Patriots' way to win this is to try to keep this into a boring game. Try to keep it like a business decision, be physical, be clean, don't make any mistakes. You talk to everybody, whether it's Mike Vrabel on stage today. It was funny. He came on with a jacket that has a Warriors logo, not the Golden State Warriors, but the whole Warriors come out to play. That whole thing which the Patriots are now saying.
It was a film, Shane, back before you were born.
Yeah, it was. A film I have not seen. Naturally, but it's coming out with a little logo on it. So obviously, like that part of, we talk about him being a culture builder. Like he seems to get that as a gift. So it's interesting to see him wear that. But I mean, it's funny. Like, have we had a single guest here? Have we had a single guest here all week who has picked the Patriots to win?
No, not one.
No. And this is the thing, right? It's almost as if there has been a sort of clear. It's like as if the favorite is so clear. I know 4.5 point favorite on Quimba at the moment. But you go into New England and I put this to a couple of the players and they were like, listen, Seattle have to do whatever we have to bring to the table as well. Like, we don't feel like we're underdogs. We're not buying the idea that we are underdogs here. When you're talking to players, whether some of the other questions coming in at Drake May and Mike Vrabel earlier on in the week, sort of asking them, trying to paint them as the underdog figure. And I know a lot of teams bill into the underdog thing, saying, yeah, we're quite happy to build into that. We're quite happy to be written off and, write us off your peril, all that kind of thing. The Patriots are coming into this and they want to be seen as equals. They want to be respected as equals. And they're definitely going to go on and try and play as equals, if not better, against Seahawks Sunday.
It's almost like he's getting annoyed that nobody's picking.
I am getting annoyed. What? There's not even one hot take merchant who's coming in and saying the Patriots will win.
That's not true.
What?
Scott came off from Decent Live betting conversation and he recommended that we should take the 4.5 points. From the Patriots. Didn't say they were going to win the game.
That's Lombardi rings, Brian, But
it's a prove me wrong scenario. They're going to prove everybody wrong on Sunday.
I just find it bizarre, though. I mean, like, when was the last time we've seen a Super Bowl between two teams who, on paper, there's definitely a clear favorite here in terms of the quality it's on field.
I will say, though, if you were listening to Ron Rivera and Tiff just there, I mean, Ron spoke very confidently about what he expected Mike Vrabel and the team to do. Like, we didn't actually get him to pick the game. We didn't put him on the spot, but he wasn't buying them as underdogs.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, like I was just chatting to Hunter Henry, and he was sort of progressing. Obviously, he's been there for the 2, 4, and 13 seasons. I remember seeing him in London last year, and he was like, "Look, this is very much a project." When I was on the floor at that particular moment, he's been there to see it progress through, and he was like, "Look, there's no point in saying, oh my God, isn't this great that we've done this, because the job isn't done yet, So the Patriots are being very insular, I think. They're trying to keep as much outside noise as possible. Again, I keep referring back to last year's Chiefs and Eagles when the Chiefs were trying to sort of draw in as much energy from the outside buzz around them with the fact that they're going for the three-peat. The Patriots are definitely very much putting the wall around them, saying, look, we all we need is very much being the sort of the logo. It's actually on the back of the Patriots unfiltered over there. So
we talked earlier, Shane, while you were down there and we were doing our live stream from Radio Row this morning, 5:00 Irish time, saying that in as much as you can judge these things, Vrabel looked incredibly relaxed.
It actually felt unusual him walking up today. I was like, this man is coaching the biggest game of his life in 3 or 4 days. It's crazy.
He looked like it was a preseason press conference and he was excited about the year ahead and just not a bother on him, not a bother at all.
It's just there in his jeans and his t-shirt with a little like logo on it. Like he's allowing like the fun parts to come in. It's funny because then when Drake May comes on, I think you could sense he was calm and all that. He was wearing this
and Michael May's partner.
I saw we went past that Michael May. I was only after she went past on the phone. I was like, is that Michael May? When we were getting back on the bus earlier. Yeah. Didn't want to bother to try and ask for any bacon recipes or anything like that. But in terms of like the way Drake May was when he was sort of speaking about everything, he's maybe a slight hesitancy in his answers. I know, like, he's not. Some people, not everybody is a elite performer, but the spotlight has been so bright on him so far this week. But outside of Stephon Diggs, who had a decent amount of cameras on him, the coverage and the focus on Drake May, even from Monday night, has been monumental, far more so than even it is on Sam Darnold at the moment. When we were talking with Dan Orlovsky yesterday, or you guys were talking with Dan Orlovsky yesterday about which quarterback is under the greater pressure in terms of what it means for their legacy. I tell you who's definitely under more spotlight and who's sort of definitely gathering more fame and who more people will be tuning in to watch. And it's definitely been Drake May by the way that it's been going. And I feel like I'm worried now, certainly as somebody who's a dog in this fight, that it might end up getting to him mentally when it comes to this Sunday. That was the sense that I got from being there this morning.
I'm surprised by that, genuinely, because we had this conversation yesterday morning when we were discussing next season, and you touched on the fact that maybe the Patriots, yeah, they're here and they've achieved great success very quickly within a program. Vrabel's gone in and here they are in the Super Bowl. But you also made the point, teams are going to come at them next season if they were to come out on top in this game, and if teams are transitioning into new coaches, one of them is bound to hit the ground running and come with a real strong return next season. So Sam Darnold and the Seahawks right now look primed to be back, not necessarily back in the Super Bowl, certainly back challenging. And if Sam Darnold doesn't win the game, I don't think it's going to be the same old Sam conversation. I think we've evolved, we've moved on from that.
But I go back to a point that we were discussing yesterday when we were on with Lindsay Rhodes talking about the data of it, and she was combing through based on what you can see, and that to me was the critical point with the Patriots. It's not that people don't think of the Patriots as a good team or a team that could win a Super Bowl. It's that based on the evidence of the games we've actually seen, and this is the quirk and the thing we love about the NFL schedule, everybody doesn't play everybody else. So we're not necessarily sure how certain teams are going to match up against each other. We've seen arguably the Seahawks answer more of the questions that would be required of them, or what we imagine we want to see from a Super Bowl winning team. There's still a couple of question marks through no fault of the Patriots' own about them, because we haven't seen them put in the same spots that the Seahawks were. I think that Rams-Seahawks game told us an awful lot, and people are maybe reading a little bit too much into that, whereas the Patriots have actually passed every test that's been put in front of them.
Well, it's funny you say that. I mean, there was one or two tests that were put in front of them which they didn't, which I felt were sort of dropped a bit short of the line. It was the reason why when we had the live show a few weeks ago, you asked me what do you expect from the Patriots. I originally thought they would be one and done in the playoffs. A blue bear is walking past us right now, and I got distracted very quickly. It's so
I see the blue bear, Shane. Maybe you're hallucinating.
I know, yeah. It's
not a Chicago bear anyway.
Well, in the Super Bowl.
They're at home.
In the Super Bowl. I know. What was it going with this? So against the Buffalo Bills in the game in New England, when it was pretty much if the Patriots won this, they won the division. There's a lot of pressure on that matchup to go 21-0 up and blow it at home against a team that historically speaking,
team though that came back against.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean the Seahawks are a quality team. So there's one or two areas which over the course of the season I'm like, it might not be enough unfair. On the Seahawks point though, in terms of how much you're reading into the Rams thing, there's two ways of looking at it, and I'm struggling to sort of pitch myself into which way I do see it, because look, the Rams I think are an excellent team.
But I put a bit of a discount on that, and I wonder where you're going with this, because in my mind, they saw this team 3 times. I would expect them to know just about every wrinkle in the play.
That's exactly where I'm going with this, because much the Rams are a very well put together team. Quarterback who I expect to be named MVP tonight. Offensive line, very good. Defense, very good. Coaching staff, very good. Outside of special teams, there's very few weaknesses in that Rams team. They played each other 3 times. They also played the previous team that played in the playoffs, the 49ers, 3 times in the season. So they were road tested against them. You saw even in the defensive scheme, the way they switched from zone coverage to man coverage in their first game and the second game against the Seahawks, against the Rams, and then they kept with that same defensive scheme, which
wasn't that much of a risk because they knew what they were going to see.
Exactly. So and this is the thing. I mean, it's just like the quality of the Rams and the 49ers, but you take away from that was the fact that, hey, you've done this before. I mean, like a Formula One driver who's driven who's driven around Monza or driven around Monaco is obviously going to be in a better position than somebody.
It's like when you see Brian at Radio Row. This is his 5th Radio Row. He just moves like a panther through the place. It's so impressive to watch.
And yet it never gets boring, and it's always eventful, and every year is very different. And but one consistent thing, the Thursday before the Super Bowl is chaotic. Today is way beyond anything we've seen this week.
Today is Celeb Central, because you can definitely tell us when people like town really starts.
But I was just talking to Adam Rank from NFL Network off camera, and he was saying, even in his experience, this Thursday has been the busiest, the most frenetic, the most starry-eyed he's ever experienced. He said it's just been off the hook.
Yeah, it's. I guess you see all the players coming for the awards this evening. You see all the players in the interview. You see all the former coaches here. Like everybody wants to be in town because it's such a unique occasion, and it's the end of a season, it's the end of a very long season, and we're going to be starring for quite a period of time. Everyone wants to embrace this final opportunity to be around people who love this game so much.
See them rocking past here and going, oh my God, there's Shane Brennan from the Irish NFL show. Oh, Mr. Brennan. Today's content today.
The superstar. Today's, oh my word, the superstar. I'm getting
Literally the best thing since sliced pan.
I have to get that on a shirt
Craig
somewhere.
hasn't got a clue what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, not a dicky murder because our Brennan's bread references.
For people at home, we're trying to Irishize Craig. We've embraced him as one of our own. He's using beautiful Irish phrases.
What
you
is
saying this week?
Deadly.
Deadly, yeah, deadly. What's the crack? He loves talk about the crack. Is in the crack now, not crack. That's a good.
Just to be clear.
Just to be really clear on this. What's the initiation ceremony we're going to have for Craig now? When he does become a full Irishman? Does he put like baptize him with Barry's tea or something like this? So how does that work?
When he starts dropping Father Ted and Snapper quotes into the conversation like Brian does, I think we'll know he's jumped the shark at that point.
See you, Borges. Snip, snip. That's all he needs to start throwing in.
Who done the damage? Who done the damage, Shark?
It was a Spanish sailor. We keep doing this all day.
I can't believe the producer of the Snapper will be thinking years ago, oh, I can't wait when they're referring to the Snapper. Just been
on Radio Row.
Snap the show up.
But on the let's get back to the football just for a moment. But on the Bills game, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier on, and my thought process around that was, okay, until it all went wrong, it was going really, really well. And what it told me and gave me a little bit of confidence in is, with 2 weeks to plan, what the Patriots can actually do, because that was the biggest test that they faced up to that point in the season. And yeah, I know it didn't end the way you would have wanted it to. And a lot of that was what the Bills did, to be fair. It wasn't necessarily what the Patriots didn't do, but they got the game plan spot on. And that is what I expect from them on Sunday. I expect them to be able to spring something of a surprise on the Seahawks. I expect them to have all the details done. Jordan Rodriguez talked about this earlier. She's like, Mike Vrabel is the most detail-oriented coach in the NFL. I've no doubt about what they're cooking up.
So what about Mike Vrabel? Josh McDaniel as well is very detail-oriented. He was sitting around talking to some of the media. I didn't quite get a chance to speak to him, but he looked somewhat tired, like a man who's been working through the night to try and figure it out. And look, one of the biggest things about that game against the Bills is that the early plan, the stuff you can schedule, the stuff you can rehearse early, all throughout the week, about 2 weeks practice for this worked really, really well. That's how they got the 21-0 lead. The defense in that instance was what was the real disappointment. And actually, since that game, they've been nowhere near as disappointing. So I think actually that was a nice kind of learning moment that they took away from this.
If you put the Seahawks in a 21-0 hole, I mean, with the greatest respects to Sam Darnold, and he's earned it the hard way, he ain't Josh Allen.
No, I guess it's back to some of the conversation we had today. Who's even going to be the MVP for the Seahawks? Is it going to be a Kenneth Walker scenario where he runs them? He would have to score 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Jake Bobo, Super Bowl MVP. Let's do it. Come on.
Bobo. I always think of the Mr. Burns.
That was supposed to be put out after his touchdown in the NFC Championship.
That's why I was thinking of it, Brian.
Oh, you were aware of that? I didn't know you'd saw
I'm aware of our content. I do occasionally check it out. Yeah.
Content driven.
Yeah.
Who's more prepared to come back from a deficit? Is that what we're suggesting? I don't think it's
saying, if you put the Seahawks into a 21-0 hole, we've been talking about this all through the playoffs, that, all right, they showed what they can do against the Rams, and the Rams brought the best of that offense out when they were put in obvious passing situations, and they coped, and Sam Darnold coped. Yeah. But that's the path to win, isn't it? You don't want the Seahawks to front run you because they're built to do that.
I say that, right? For somebody to be in the 21-0 hole, you have to trust one of these teams to completely lost the rag in terms of the internal fabric of the team.
That's the rag.
That's the internal fabric of how the team has been set up and working over the week, like we saw with the Denver Broncos when the Seahawks won the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 48. And I don't know, neither of these teams sounds like the blow up type to me in the way that I thought the Eagles would have been last year, because of the nature of inside their dressing room. It ended up being in the reverse, in fairness.
It's very rare in the Super Bowl you see a scenario where a team gets up at that level of a deficit or a lead, because they're usually reasonably balanced. You have to have, and the number of things go against you very, very quickly. And we're referring to that Seahawks-Broncos game, like a safety on the first play of the game. They then have to return, then they have to punt it back to the Seahawks. The Seahawks are easily getting the ball. They return a touchdown, special teams touchdown. I mean, I wouldn't say the game was gone, but for that to happen Sunday, either side has to make, for me, it have to be either a turnover, a pick six, look, a strip sack of a touchdown, something to that effect.
Look, Cooper DeJean is walking around, and he's just around the corner here, right? He was the real momentum getter for the Eagles last year.
When talking about the Eagles,
when he got the pick six, when he got the pick six, and there was another
That was
player.
the last one. That put the hammer down.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, somebody out there is going to make one or two very, very key momentum hit plays. Now, we've seen the Patriots offense come up with that when they had to be, like he refers to the booty touchdown against the Texans. But it is fair to say, and there's probably a reason why a lot of people are picking the Seahawks right now. On the Seahawks defense, you feel like there are just more of those guys out there who can really make those momentum switching plays.
Well, if you want to talk about momentum, today is the day where I officially started to get really excited about the game, and I moved on from any idea. And we were talking to Jordan Rodrigue earlier. She's sitting where you are, Brian, and Kieran was saying, you know, she had called it, saying the NFC Championship game is effectively the Super Bowl this year, and she went, "Yeah, but it's football, man." I'm so excited.
Yeah, and the more as closer we get to Sunday, the more excited you get, because you realize we should have a compelling Super Bowl.
Oh, no, I'm in full on Frank the Tank mode.
I guess for neutrals, I'm not suggesting us, just in general. Like, if you have no skin in the game, as to say, you're probably thinking, "Oh, I would have liked to see a certain team in the Super Bowl." Maybe it was the Bears because of the fantastic story. People leading it to see, would have loved to see the Lions finally make it over the line.
There's a lot of people that I've talked to who would rather see a Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl than this.
No.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people I speak to who would rather see that.
What I would say is, and I know probably the circumstances changed because Patrick Mahomes got injured. Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, box office, not whether he wins or loses. People want to see.
Fair point.
So I would have liked to see Patrick Mahomes or the Chiefs in the playoffs. You didn't, because I know what you were thinking. No matter what the circumstance, and we spoke about this last week, no matter what the circumstance of a Chiefs team, we spoke time and time again. If they make it into the playoffs, they're a dangerous animal. And you would have had to face them as the number 2 against the 7th seed.
Well, no. What probably would have happened then is Patrick Mahomes gets injured the week before we played, and we had to play against a backup quarterback like the other AFC West team. That's just the kind of look that we've been getting this year.
Ifs and buts, it's all irrelevant. All our teams are in the off-season mode trying to be ultimately where we are, and where the Patriots and Seahawks are next season.
Well, I mean, it's all there for New York Giants to be next year's New England Patriots when it comes to the turnaround, the head coach, the quarterback, everything that's going on there. We feel like we've entire all season talk about that, but I wouldn't be surprised if we're seeing the Giants here in LA next year.
There's many a team that will say that. I'll try one quickie.
The Giants.
One quickie, and Conor, I know we need to finish. When me and Kieran were in New Jersey in October for the Giants-Eagles game, and we were coming out of a diner that Friday lunchtime, tongue-in-cheek, Mr. Brennan here texted me saying, "Book it now. Patriots-Giants Super Bowl in 2 years."
A Super Bowl. I said Super Bowl 62 in Atlanta. That's what I called. Yeah.
No, his own team would be in the Super Bowl only a couple of months later. He never believed it whatsoever.
Yeah, well, see, in Super Bowl 62, the Patriots will be going for their 8th title against the Giants, who will be going for their 5th. I think that it would be. It's there. It's all there.
Give the Bears a Super Bowl. Come on.
Yeah, well, look,
Give the Bears Super Bowl. Let's go and win it. Let's go and win it like everybody else.
Well, regardless of who's there, with the grace of God, we'll certainly be there on Sunday. We're here on Radio Row in association with Dunes and Drams in the meantime on the Irish NFL Show.